one. Hello, la la la. It's the NFL. It's literally the mid-season, and as we are about to enter the second half of the NFL season already, which is intense and insane, we have two of the best in all of productive conversation sports breakdowns with you, and we're going to talk all things NFL right now. So first, our good friend Alex Ranniello. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? How are you?
It's great to see you. Love the vest shirt combo right here. For anyone listening, it's a beautiful yellow bust shirt and a Raiders sweater. It's great. And then we have another Alex. Our great friend Alex Young is on. Alex Young, what's up?
What's up, Matt? What's up, other Alex? It's kind of funny. We have the U-Heart connection going on today, so it's going to be exciting to have this U-Heart football, NFL connection here. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Indeed. And there's a lot of headlines to address, lots of predictions to make, and lots of football to talk about. So where do we start? Why don't we hit home? We'll start with our fandoms first. So with that, when it comes to New York football. Now, if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would be panicking. I'd be angry. I'd be cynical. But when it comes to the New York Football Giants, the team me and Alex love, they did win a game against the Carolina Panthers this past week. And with the collapse of the Chiefs this year, which we'll get into a little later, this Monday's football game looks more appealing. But leading up to that, the Giants have had lots of injuries, lots of headaches, Joe Judgeisms. But there's just, I think Alex Young and Ranniello can agree that the Giants are oddly still, we don't know what they are. There's still a lot to figure out with them. So we'll start with the fan here, Alex Young. Now, what are you thinking about with this team? Daniel Jones looking much improved than last time, making one-hand catches now and, able to facilitate with all his weapons coming out. The rise of Kadarius Toney, Gettleman hoping that things work out so he has a job next year, and there may be some off-season move or in-season moves coming that might switch things up. But Alex Young, what are you thinking about our Giants up until this point as we finish the first half? Now they are 2-5.
It's obviously disappointing to be 2-5 at this point, especially with two games that we could have easily won. Against Atlanta, we had the lead, blew that, and then obviously the meltdown against the Washington football team. If we didn't go off sides, we win that game. All that. I was there Sunday at MetLife. My dad has season tickets, Matt. My family's had season tickets since the Polo Grounds, so we have been diehard Giants fans ever since. Obviously it's great to be there, but it's sad going there. I was there at opening week. Stadium was packed. I go there on Sunday, not a lot of people there, obviously because we're disappointed and all that stuff. But watching the game in the arena, there was promise. And I know it was the Panthers, and they don't have Christian McCaffrey, and you have Sam Darnold, who struggled without him, or doesn't look like the quarterback he was the first 3 weeks of the season. But it looked like the defense finally came alive, and that's something that we've missed for the first 2 weeks of the season. The defense was supposed to be our anchor, and then the start of the season, our defense is our problem. We can't get off the field. And on Sunday, that was a whole different thing. We were just all over Darnold. Caused a collapse in the pocket and everything. So there's promise there. But overall, like you said, there's still stuff that we don't know. Daniels looked great at times. And I know you talk about the one-handed catch. That was nerve-wracking me in the stands. That ball floated for a half second longer. Daniel Jones is probably out for the season because that safety or whoever was coming, he was about to destroy him. So we got lucky with that. But there's been promise, and like you said, we didn't have Toney, but Tony's had flashes of brilliance, and obviously the Cowboys game we should have had him on the field earlier on this year because he's a game changer, right? So what happens when he's back on the field? Like, how dynamic can he be with Daniel? And then, it feels like we always get our offense back, and then 5 minutes in, someone gets hurt, and it's unfortunate. So, like you said, it makes Monday a lot more appealing because, like you said, the Chiefs aren't looking great. Their defense is looking all over the place. And coming off this game where the defense looked good, the confidence is going into Monday night. So we don't know. We could walk away out of the Chiefs game 3-5. I think we could win. I think it's a game we can win. I don't think, a lot of people it's the Chiefs, it's Mahomes. We're going to lose. I think there's a chance the defense comes to play on Monday night. I think we have a chance to walk away with that. So, overall, it's been disappointing, but like you said earlier, we still don't really know what this team is yet. So it's going to be interesting to see the next few weeks what this Giants team is.
Remember, they're playing a quarterback in Mahomes who has the most interceptions in the league. Everything that can go wrong seems to go wrong for the Chiefs. And we're playing with house money. The Chiefs have everything to lose if they lose to this generation Giants. And oh my goodness, talk about momentum shifts. How you feeling about, the upgraded line, even with Nick Gates' absence? It seems they're protecting Daniel much better. And maybe things are coming around with them too. You think you liking what you're seeing out of this line?
I am. There are some times where you see plays bust, and it tends to be when Nate Solder's on the field. And I know we pay him a ton of money, but it's like that's why he's on the field when he shouldn't be on. But he shouldn't be on the field because defenses target him. But we see when Daniel has time, he can make plays. He can make the throws. He's not running for his life, and we see that this year. The mistakes are down. I know the outlier of that Rams game, that defense is unbelievable, as we all know. But when he has time in the pocket, he's making these big plays. He's getting the ball out where he needs to. It's on time. They're accurate. It's all what we want. And, we're sometimes taking shots downfield. A lot of people forget Daniel has one of the best deep ball arms he's one of the best deep ball accurate quarterbacks in the league. Last year he had, a really good percentage of throwing the ball 20 yards down the field. So when we take those chances, it seems that they work out, right? So, I know there's times where we're like, what the hell is the offensive line doing? But then there's games like the Panthers where Daniel's not getting hit as much against a strong defense, and he's making all the necessary plays. I know the stats, if you look at it, he didn't blow anyone out of the water, but he did everything that necessary to win the game. And that's all we want, right? We want this offensive line to give Daniel and the rest of this offense a chance to make plays to keep us in the game. So far it's okay. Do I want the offensive line to be better? Should have been upgraded since Gettleman's tenure? Absolutely. We should have better names than Nick Gate, before Nick Gate got hurt, and, the Shane Lemieux and the Hernandezes and all that stuff. When you have Andrew Thomas, who unfortunately got hurt, and
he was finally coming around
too, and he's looked great. If you only have him as your stalwart, he's the future, right? Like all of us this year were like, wow, he has really stepped up. He's our future. That's a problem. You don't need, it takes a whole offensive line, not one left tackle, to make everything work. So, has it been better than I thought it would be? Yes, but due to upgrades need to be needed. Yes, for sure, as well. There definitely needs to be stronger people on this offensive line going forward, because we see when Daniel has a pocket, he can make the plays and be a franchise quarterback that we have expected him to be. And just one more quick thing is that I'm finally happy Giants fans are trying to turn around with Daniel Jones. I know our patience were running a little thin, towards the end of last season, but him coming in, we needed to see improvement, right? We needed him to show that he could be our guy. And when we have that offensive line clicking, he shows that he's our guy. He can be the guy that we have going forward. We don't need to take one of our 2 first-round picks this year and pick a quarterback. I think Daniel could stay in. So I'm happy that Giants fans are finally realizing that it wasn't a Jones problem. It was Gettleman's failure of giving him an offensive line to work with. So I just wanted to make that quick point real quick for the Giants fans out there that still are hating on Daniel Jones.
Absolutely. And like you said, this team should be 4-3 if things, finally went in our favor. Now I'm looking at the NFC standings. There's only 6 teams who are above 500 out of 15. Now, say in a perfect world, we pull off this humongous upset and the Vegas people aren't believing in it. There are 10-point underdogs. But again, team has been improving on the offensive side, and in a defense where we really need to step up. We lost our Bill Preppers and, Bradbury, though, on top with that, those injuries, Aziz is looking good. You have James Bradbury, who was looking like a bust in the beginning of the year after going to the Pro Bowl. He got his pick last week. like you said, anything could happen while the Chiefs are collapsing, and there's just stuff to look forward to. And if things pan out a certain way, who knows if the wild card will be qualifying for a wild card spot coming to next month. And transitioning to that, we talked about one AFC West team that the Giants are playing. Talking about another one for our Raiders expert, Alex Ranniello. Your Las Vegas Raiders have been in the news quite a bit, but after Gruden quits, and could you just remind the interim coach at the moment?
Rich Bisaccia.
Rich Bisaccia is undefeated so far at 2-0, and now
Yeah.
they're looking like probably at this moment the best team in the AFC West.
Yes, sir.
You know, compare that, and that you'll all really have the Chargers to worry about. How you feeling about your revamped Raiders now that they're not getting as much media scrutiny at the moment, and now they could just focus on football? And by the way, our teams will be playing each other next Sunday too. So,
Sir, no hard feelings if we stomp you guys in Jersey. No, I mean this team looks motivated. You know, it's like it looks like a burden of weight has been lifted from the team and their expectations under Gruden. The front four has been outstanding. You know, since the week that Gruden was let go, you know, Max Crosby's has been on fire. He had 2 tackles and a sack this past Sunday, and he had 3 total sacks against Denver the week before. And Perriman and Abram have been, you know, basically just tearing up that secondary. I mean, when they load up in the box against the run, they've been all over tackles. And Abrams played a lot more conservative this year. I felt like he was gambling on a lot of the secondary plays where they were getting beat on defense last year. So that shows a lot of growth. And again, you know, I've been cautiously optimistic with this team because every year we know that they have a hot start. They go 6-2, 6-3. They nosedive after week 9. It's really, you know, driven me near a dead pulse in years past, but this team looks different. They look really hungry, really motivated, and Carr looks free. And he's starting to look more like an MVP, like caliber kind of candidate when he was on that path in 2016. So, and the one thing I've noticed too, since 2 weeks back when they played Denver after letting go of Gruden, Greg Olsen, the offensive coordinator, has really like dialed up a lot of stuff. You're seeing a lot of mixed packages, a lot of empty backfields with a 5 receiver set or a 4 receiver set, and then you're seeing a lot of split backs out wide. He's really like spreading the ball around, and I felt like that's kept a lot of defenses on their heels because I can't tell you how many nights and days I've been watching them be just so predictable on offense the first 2 downs and then putting Carr in an unpredictable like 3rd and long. So it's been encouraging to see the turnaround in 2 weeks. Not getting my hopes up completely yet thus far, but I like a lot of what I've seen, and I've been pleasantly surprised with the defensive side of the ball, which I did not see coming this year.
Cool. Now, another question I have for you, Alex Ranniello. So when it comes to your division, and you're seeing the humongous favorite, or the AFC favorite in the Chiefs, playing awful football, does this just bring you a lot of joy? Does it, you know, make you smile? I was just curious about that. Seeing the Chiefs, your hated rival, turn into a parody of themselves, maybe even a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, again, like I've always been one who's been on, you know, centralized on the focus of like, you know, winning the division, making the playoffs. So I can't take too much gratitude in it. Definitely is nice to see. I'm enjoying it, but the work's not done. And this team looks really, really motivated right now. I will say that Chargers do scare me moving forward, but ultimately I feel like Herbert's his youth will catch up to him in maybe some of the bigger games at the bright spots towards the end of the season. And we've been able to prove to the world that we've been able to beat the Chiefs 3 years past in a row. So it's nothing for us that we can't do going down the stretch of the season if Kansas City, you know, irons out their issues. So I feel very optimistic about that, but I'm just taking 1 week at a time.
Hear that. And you'll definitely need our help this upcoming Monday night. And well,
Yes.
being free from Gruden has led to a lot of good things for the Raiders.
Yep.
Now, Gruden this past week was recorded for an interview on Real Sports, right? Obviously, the big thing, he loses his job because of his comments he made to executives in the Washington football team, a team he also used to work for.
Yep.
And there's over 650,000 emails apparently reviewed by a board saying there's, quote, nothing in there. Yet, when asked to comment on the situation, John Gruden said, quote, the truth shall be revealed. Literally, there's a soundbite you could look up of him saying. Now, what's going on, if anyone doesn't know, the Washington football team is executives, especially owner Dan Snyder, is being investigated for allegations of having a toxic workplace environment, which includes allegations of sexual misconduct, treating people poorly. Just an awful situation while they are not winning games, even though they ironically won the division last year. Now, I'm just curious of your guys' take because this story keeps growing. I believe the Players Association asked for the release of all 650,000 emails. I know the owner of the Ravens, Mark Davis, it was literally just reported as we're recording that he's asking for it. A lot of not good PR is coming out of Washington. Now, I'm just curious for you guys, and I'll throw it to the floor whoever wants to start. What do you think of this whole situation? Do you think that Roger Goodell will do an Adam Silver and remove a toxic owner like Adam Silver did to Donald Sterling for the Clippers at the beginning of last decade or middle part of last decade? Do we feel this is going to be a huge change for the league in general, kicking out? What do you guys think of this uncomfortable story, but it has to be addressed because it keeps growing? Dan, do you think that ultimately, do you feel that the emails should be released? I say might as well. And, make things clear once and for all. And we know the NFL has been iffy on big scandals across the league in the past and trying to hide things under the rug. This would be a great chance to right that wrong.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I can start. I think, I don't know if it's going to be the Donald Sterling thing because people don't remember when that happened. He got caught on audio saying some very awful things about his players. Now, if that's the case with Snyder, I know we haven't heard or seen these emails. Anything, if there's really anything that egregious, and yeah, I think the NFL needs to take a stand against that. It seems like the football team is in a lot of scandals as of late. And I know they tried to do certain things of, firing some of the people or a majority of the people who are involved with that, or they're no longer with the team.
Yep.
So if that's the case, then yeah, but I think with this whole thing, there has to be some sort of league-wide mandate going forward about the work environment, because time and time again we hear from different organizations across different sports of this hostile work environment, and it really it needs to stop. It needs to end because it's taking away from the league as a whole. So I think that's what we might see going forward. I don't know, there's a bunch of emails. So again, I don't know if they're going to go to the extreme of removing Snyder as owner of the football team. Again, if there's something that comes out that is absolutely horrific, then I think they need to take some sort of action. But at least for right now, I think you can look at fines. You can look at, maybe draft pick, them having forfeit draft picks, certain things going forward so that you could, and it stinks for the football team, but the league might have to make them an example, right? That we don't tolerate this. We're not going to stand for this going forward. And, this is, you guys were the ones that got caught. If you look at it, baseball with the Astros, when they got cheated, they lost draft picks. And I know they're in the World Series now, so whatever. But they kind of became the example of, if you cheat, this is the standard of what's going to happen to you. You're going to get fined. People are going to get suspended for a year, whatever the case might be. So I can see the NFL being like, you guys are the scapegoat. You guys are getting investigated. We found all this stuff. And because of that, XYZ is going to happen to you. And then the league, other teams can look around and say like, okay, maybe we should look at how our workplace environment is. And maybe we need to reflect on who we are and try to change it for a positive. Because like I said, we see this across all the time of these hostile work environments. And I don't know, we're in 2021 and I don't know why we still are seeing this. When you go to work, you're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to enjoy what you're doing. And if not, then you're getting picked on or harassed or some of these awful things that you hear. It's just like, how can no one take a stand? So I think now it's time for the NFL to be like, you know what? This is it. This is done. Going forward, this is what's going to happen. And if we hear this, you're going to, face the consequences. So like I said, we'll see. I don't think we're going to get all these emails out. It's a lot of emails. But like I said, if there is something where you see a bunch of awful stuff said by Dan Snyder, I could see the NFL potentially going down the route that of the whole Donald Sterling situation. But I think it's still a little early on. I think what the league needs to do, like I said, is look at this hard and say, how can we abolish this in our league and set a standard and a precedent to avoid hostile work environments and, harassment and things like that going forward.
Yeah, dude, I think you hit every single point that needs to be addressed, especially when it comes to make an example. Yeah, we kind of live in a world like that, but in a world where it seems there's all these scandals with these teams in the entertainment industry, in business, how much longer is it going to take for these organizations to be called out on their bullshit, quite frankly? And I'm at the point where as we start really advancing in our careers and our generation and the younger ones, it's time for us all to not follow the past generations, do their mistakes, and then we can prove that, there is something worthwhile when growing their careers. Anything you want to add on with this story, Alex Ranniello?
Yeah, so I echo everything that Alex said, but furthermore too, it's just a lack of self-awareness. I mean, when Gruden got caught, it kind of set the precedent. I think a lot of the public basically said, okay, this is the new precedent set. There's going to be more to come, and this is just one of those dominoes to fall, or is continually going to fall. I think that when you're a multi-billion-dollar product, this is kind of the circumstance you're in. I don't see people knocking down the doors of small businesses the same way. So I understand that this is the territory that comes with cleaning up the league and public perception and image that comes with the league. The NFL's put that, at the utmost importance in years past, and they've done a lot in the past years to do that since 2010. We'll see. I mean, he's got a very dirty past, Dan Snyder, and I know that a lot of devout fans, I have family in Washington, in the Virginia area, that have been fans for a long time, and they've been calling for his job for years. And so I feel like that's the general sentiment for at least a majority of the fan base. And we'll see what comes out. Again, this is an ongoing investigation. This is definitely not the last domino to fall, I feel. And when you have a circumstance where a lot of these owners are protected, up on their pedestal, and they have a network of communications across all 32 owners, there's guaranteed to be more to come out across the league. I'm sure of it.
Yes, to be fair, probably all 32 teams have something similar to this. And there's people with the, what do they have? The teardrop in anime in your nervous feeling. I think all 32 owners can probably do that. And
one more thing too, it's unfortunate because they've taken a lot of, as soon as you think that they're kind of back on the right path, in terms of winning football and morality wise, like signing Ron Rivera was a great acquisition, bringing back Fitzpatrick in the interim, and then giving Heineke all the reps and opportunities he's deserved, dating back to the playoff run last year. It seems like they do a lot of the right things. And then you have an owner who just has zero self-awareness and no moral compass, doing things to really set them back 10 yards when they gain one. And it's really just unfortunate.
Yeah, this will probably be an example of karma really coming back. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And we're just going to see how the rest of this story unfolds and talk about getting the chance to really revamp. I know they're going to have a name for this team, probably going to change the color scheme or whatever. And, tough lesson learned, but we need to learn them. Now on to other things. I'm just curious, just quick story. What do you guys think of the Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa. Well, if I messed that up, let me know. But when it comes to Tua, do you think that his leash has been let? Do you think the Dolphins are kind of giving up on him too easily? You know, the rumors of Deshaun Watson getting traded to them, you know, maybe looking to the future because there are going to be some more veteran QBs coming into the offseason. Do you think that the Dolphins just are cutting the leash too short on Tua right now at 1-6 at the moment?
I don't think they are. I mean, I do in a way, because I think, looking at it, I think this team was built more to have a veteran quarterback lead them.
Yeah.
Which is why you always hear Deshaun Watson. I know he's going through all the crazy legality and all that stuff happening right now. So who knows what happens there. But I think Tua has shown that he can be a decent quarterback. I think his stat line in the last 2 weeks hasn't been horrendous.
Yeah, he has improved. What I should say to Samander's eyes, do you think the Dolphins will cut the leash on Tua? But you were saying?
Yeah, I think they will if something dramatic happens with Watson and they're able to get him and allow him to be on the field. I think that's when the Dolphins will move on. But it's weird because I think he can be good, and I think this team is just not living up to the expectations. Their defense isn't there, and I know that, you know, they played great last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I think also the thing with Tua too, and I think this is why the Dolphins will be are thinking of moving on from him, is because of the injuries.
Yeah.
That he just can't stay on the field. It's happened since his time at Alabama, and then they thought maybe it would change the NFL, and it hasn't changed the NFL. So it's like they can get a guy, like I said, like a Watson, who's just been proven to be able to stay on the field, and you have to give up Tua and draft picks and whatever to do that. Then I think they'll do that because they know that going forward, they have this, you know, arguably a top 15 quarterback in the league, and they can just move on from Tua and do that. But I think that's really what the Dolphins are thinking, is that it's like whenever he seems to be making progress and we potentially have chances to do well, especially this year, he's gotten hurt. And then they don't have Fitzpatrick there anymore to try to be a game manager, to try to win games, and then it becomes a mess. And then that's why they're 1-6. And I know in these last 2 games, you lose to the Jags on a late field goal last week, but he's looked good. He's looked good at times. I thought he looked really good watching the game in London, coming back from a rib injury. But I think that's the key thing for the Dolphins and why they're thinking of moving on, is because they never know if he's going to stay healthy. And if you don't have a guy who can stay healthy, who's supposed to be a franchise quarterback, you're not going to succeed in the league, which is why I think they're always in the talks for Watson, because they know if they bring him on that this team is going to be completely different and they have a chance to be a contender in the AFC East.
Yeah. As long as Watson gets his name cleared, that would be a big game changer for Miami in their future. Alex Ranniello, do you also feel the Dolphins are may or may not be doing the right thing if they cut the cord?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of right or wrong, because it's a production league. It's a performance-based league. It's all in merit. So I think that I think Brian Flores and that organization has actually already made their minds up. I think that they're kind of like what Alex said. I think they're trying to actually wait for the right moment when his stock value is highest. That way they can get more for him from Houston. I know Houston's been asking a haul for Deshaun Watson. So that's going to be like an interesting interplay before November 12th. That means that if I have the math right, they only have 2 more weeks of football until then to get to look better on the open market.
Yes, week 9 is Miami's the deadline.
So I think right. So I think that they've already made their mind up. I just think that they're trying to really buff up and spruce up his market value right now. It's too bad because the circumstances that they drafted him, and he was already damaged goods coming into the league, and he was already undersized. So when you don't have your health or your size, your mechanics are, you don't really have much of a chance. It's one of those things, like if Baker or Russell Wilson came into the league, or Drew Brees came into the league, already injury prone and already had an injury that was career threatening, I think a lot of people would second guess drafting him, and they would be sure to move off him sooner than later too.
Yeah. So we like our buddy Mike Francesa, but when he anointed that Tua's going straight to the Hall of Fame, you knew that this was not going to work out. But again, another thing what time will tell, and this is probably his two most important weeks of football for Mr. I'll try again, Tunga Availoa.
There you go.
Tunga Availoa.
Very nice.
Okay, and they go up against. They go up against. They don't have a bye. They go up against the Bills, and then that's a loss. And then according to this, they're actually going to play the Texans, so that will be an epic battle. But
maybe you won't have to leave the you don't have to take the flight back. Maybe you can stay in Houston after that game. Well, I don't know if they're playing in Miami or not. If they're playing in Houston, that'd be hilarious. They make you trade. It's like, yeah, you're here now. You're good. I don't know if they're playing in Houston. If they are, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, that was like in the trade deadline this year. Who was the team? There was a player who just switched dugouts. They do something like that. And yes, that game will actually be just one moment. That game is going to be in Miami, so you could just ride back with them.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And just when you come to one-win teams, the New York Jets, this might be the worst one-win team at this moment I've ever seen. It is crazy how awful they are to watch. The Jets. Robert Saleh doesn't looks like though he's a rookie quarter. Sorry, though he's a rookie. Robert Saleh is a rookie coach, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. None of his personnel. Zach Wilson, looks like my brother Tommy's worst days. And Tommy's, playing at Wagner College, and at least Tommy looks more confident when he's playing in his development games. It's just, I should say he looks more. See, the Jets are making me not think straight. So this dude doesn't look confident when he's played. He has a lot of right things to say, but with the exception of Mekhi Becton, everything is awful about the Jets. Guys, is this just does never work for the Jets? You can argue that they can restart again. And I'm baffled. What do you guys think of the awful Jets?
I'll start again with this one. It's kind of sad for Jets fans because they had all the confidence, and I feel like this is like the Sam Darnold all over again, where they had the confidence. Oh, we have
arguably
our guy,
worse
we have our
too.
Guy, and it's definitely worse. It's just that this team. It looks like, and I know a lot of people are saying this. It's like when everyone's talking about the Titans later on in the season, everyone's gonna be like, "How the hell did they lose to this Jets team?" And it's looking like less of impressive win week after week. Like that's sad. When you beat a quality team and it looks like awful a few weeks in, like it doesn't even matter that you beat the Titans, but everyone's gonna question why the Titans lost to you, right? So it's a disaster. It really is. And I understand. Robert Saleh is rookie coach, the offensive coordinator is a rookie offensive coordinator, same thing. They just don't know, they don't know, look like they know what their next steps are. They just look very deer in headlights, that they're way over their heads. And I think as much as I love Robert Saleh, and a lot of people love Robert Saleh, it's that it looks like like I said just before, he looks like he's in over his head. He doesn't really know what he's doing on the sidelines. When we're the Giants, on the Giants side, it looks like with Joe Judge, it's like, for a few weeks, and I know we didn't have a great first year with him, but it looks like we knew what the continuation, the maturation process he wanted, right? Like what we were seeing week after week from him. It looked like he wanted something different, and it still looks as a second-year coach, he's still like week after week. And I know we have our Joe Judgeisms, but it's just that
results are the most overrated thing.
Yeah, there's that, but it's like there's something that you want to see. He always seems to have something on task, and Robert Saleh. To me, especially, you're coming off a bye and you get absolutely destroyed by a rookie quarterback and Mac Jones again and the Patriots. It just doesn't look good. And it doesn't you can't just say oh, we're going to watch the tape. How are you going to watch the tape on a 30-something point loss against a rookie quarterback? There's not there's nothing to see there. And I think that's why a lot of Jets fans are frustrated, because it's just that it's what are we doing? There's no growth. We're not seeing any growth or progress. And I know Zach Wilson's hurt now. But even beforehand, there's certain things you see from Zach Wilson, and I've watched some of his games, and I'm like, what are these throws? There'd be an easy 5-yard out screen pass. He's throwing them at these people's feet. There's certain passes he's made where he's throwing it in traffic.
Yeah.
And I understand that BYU, he has a cannon of arm, he's made play, but like at the NFL, he looks a little shell shocked. I understand he's a rookie quarterback, and sometimes you're going to get that. But there's some things in my head that I'm like, what is going on here? Like, there's something that I feel like is not clicking. Because he's, side arming these 5-yard throws or whatever. He's not confident in zipping it in. So, like you said, it's been an absolute disaster for the Jets. Do I think they're the worst team in football? Possibly. I think the Texans are up there as being pretty bad, but it just looks like everyone's lost on the sideline, and that's not what you want to see. And I think after this week, everyone kind of realized, like, we're in a lot of trouble going forward if this is what it's going to be. And I think I think Robert Saleh can grow as a coach, but right now you could definitely see that he's lost because coming off a bye, you get shredded against the Patriots, who look like they're just playing Madden and calling screen passes every play.
Yeah.
But it stopped them.
All Madden versus rookie.
Pretty much. So, it definitely has been a disaster, and I don't know. These next few weeks are big, and I don't think the Jets are going to clean house first year, coaches all around, but there has to definitely be growth going forward. Otherwise, Jets fans are going to be even more disappointed, even more mad than they are right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, I
do. Get used to it.
Yeah.
Ranniello, you also in disgust as well?
I'm not in disgust because it's all about expectations. Like, I expected them coming into the season to have 3-4 wins max. So, it's one of those things when you're going to be a dumpster fire team and an underperforming organization. You can only look for progress, like play to play, and how well, how hard players are playing for their coach and their organization. I mean, that's the thing that you guys mentioned earlier with Joe Judge. It's like, at least there was a glimmer of hope by the end of the season because they were playing for this guy. But How do you give up 54 points to a rookie quarterback when they're, bereft of skill positions still, even after an offseason? And Robert Saleh is the defensive head coordinator. Going to the Super Bowl. It's just like, it's unbelievable. It's like you're not even winning at your own game. So for me, like, it is a little bit of, it definitely has like a little bit of hopelessness to it, especially with Zach Wilson going down and being out 2 to 4 weeks. The best you can hope for if you're a Jets fan moving forward to the end of the season is just seeing progress, seeing continuity on the offensive line, seeing guys playing hard on defense, things of that nature. And that's really all you can hope for.
Yeah. If I was a Jets fan, I've never given up on any of my teams. I never will. But nothing's worse than boring football and awful football. And that's what they do every
boring
week.
Football you can get away with if you're winning.
Yeah,
Bad football you cannot. Because Belichick's won 20 years boring football.
Yeah, very true.
Excellent point there. The Jets are playing the Bengals this week. Do we feel that right now that Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase are the next great quarterback and wide receiver combo? Ranniello, we'll start with you on that one. How impressive is that? Have they been specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. They've kind of caught Cleveland and Pittsburgh with their pants down on this one in terms of timing. I think they're just ascending. I think it's just the beginning for the two of them. I think moving forward, like I said, I think it may be depending on the Baker contract situation going into the offseason, it may be a two-headed race in this division with Baltimore and Cincinnati. But, again, I'm not setting the bar too high. It is the Bungles. They'll find a way, I feel like, ultimately. But as long as they can keep Burrow upright and healthy, they got a shot. I think, addressing the offensive line was key and critical. Zach Taylor seems to be a coach you can believe in. He seems to be a bright young mind, even if he needs work in a situational football. But this defense, this team in general is just on the rise. They're just beginning. And the continuity between him and Ja'Marr Chase is a great sign if you're a Bengals fan.
Tell me about it. You feel the same way, Alex Young?
Yeah, I definitely do. I love the pick when the Bengals went out and got Chase, someone that, was perfect. Obviously, one of the best duos in college was Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase. Now we see it in the NFL. And I think Chase caught a lot of people off guard because a lot of people forget at the end of the preseason, he was having a lot of dropping issues and he was saying he had a tough time catching the football. And now we're, couple weeks in, and he, I think, set the record for like most receiving yards in a 6-game span for a rookie.
Yeah.
So definitely doesn't have drop issues anymore. You can see that football perfectly. And I think there are definitely the duo to look out for going forward. And like Alex said, I think the Bengals ascension came a lot earlier. I think people thought they were a year away. I think a lot of people thought Burrow, Chase, they'll develop their chemistry next year. They'll be contenders. Now they're battling with the Ravens, and they beat them pretty handily on Sunday to prove that they're not a pretender. So I think this is a team to look out for. And I know it's Cincinnati. You never know what can happen. But like Alex said, you keep Joe upright, you keep him healthy. That defense is playing a lot better than a lot of people thought. And with Chase, anything's possible with him. He's a dynamic receiver. We've seen that. And me as a Georgia fan, I saw that a lot, even in the SEC when he was at LSU. So, I knew when he got picked, he was going to be a dynamic player. And having Burrow, them play together in college, you already knew the chemistry was there. So I think that was a perfect pick. And talking about real quick about just rebuilding teams, I told my dad the Bengals are the team to look at on how to perfectly rebuild your team. You get your quarterback, you build your kind of offensive line, you start building your defense. Boom, your quarterback's favorite receiver in college is available in the first round of your draft. You're getting him. You're going after him when he's on your board. And now we're seeing that it's paying dividends because Burrow has a guy he knows he could throw to and be comfortable with. And, they already have other good receivers in T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So and they have Joe Mixon in the backfield. So that whole offense is just dynamic and just perfect way to rebuild the team. And that's why we're seeing now, especially now a year early, that this Bengals team is definitely a team to look out for going forward in the AFC. And it's going to be interesting to see down the stretch. I think like what Alex said, it's looking like it's going to be, a 2-team race for the division in the AFC North between the Bengals and the Ravens.
Let's keep running it. Yep.
If you're the GM for Cincinnati, Tobin, if I'm looking at one guy in the league, I'm looking at Steve Kine in Arizona because they have the opportunity with the division vulnerable as it is right now and the salary cap. I know for a fact that they have in the salary cap league being undervalued. I think they can make a serious run the next 2 years, have like that 2-year window to really push the division with Cleveland, down and out, and Pittsburgh in transition into a new quarterback. We saw how Kyler started last year, even though they were hot. They fell off towards the end of the season because of injuries, but also a tough schedule. And it seems like Cincinnati also has a tough schedule outside of the Jets towards the end of the season. So I'm not sure that I can really sufficiently predict them to be a playoff team because of the schedule, but I know for a fact that if I was Tobin in the offseason, I would try to put all my chips to the center of the table the same way Arizona did this year.
Hey, it proves. And if you get, they made the big signing. JJ Watt was a big move. If the Bengals can just get a true big defensive player, they could get a Vontaze Burfict, but not an asshole type of player with that type of impact in the secondary, then the secondary specifically, or if they get a great pass rusher in there, it's going to be an exciting time, especially, who knows where options are available before the deadline or on the off season, especially if the Chiefs are having a bad time and say they keep collapsing. Maybe you bring in a Chris Jones in or Tyrann Mathieu if they realize that they, shit the bed and, need to get rid of them assets. As you said, the Bengals can there's just a few more moves in the front office away to being an elite team. And speaking of elite teams at the moment, then in terms of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with Tom Brady throwing 600 passes in the yards and then being generous to their lucky fans who get those balls and stuff. But all in all, the Bucs, see, what else can we say about Tom Brady at 44? Being the best quarterback in the league, he's on track to have 6,000 yards with this extra game. I mean, I'm speechless. What do we do? We're just gonna, until Tom Brady feels like it, to call it a career. Is that the point where we're at it right now? I mean, what
until
were
the supermarkets run out of avocado ice cream.
Literally,
that's our only
man.
hope, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think Tom Brady's just a god. I mean, people pretty much this is going to be a hard thing to compare different eras, different sports, but take Jordan's peak in the 90s and how much influence and dominance he's had. Arguably, with his sport in this era, Tom Brady's the most dominant athlete we'll ever see in a generation. I mean,
possibly.
Geez, what is there anything to say besides just being in awe? And if anyone says he sucks, you just don't know anything about sports, competition, conflict. Tom Brady, huh? Right, guys?
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know if you guys saw the Hertz commercial recently with Tom Brady, where he's like acting like he's a robot and he's like plugging in and charging up. It's pretty funny.
I gotta see that.
Yeah, and it's pretty much what he is. He's a robot, right? And to me, you know, we've been blessed, I think, with the two greatest primes in sports. I'll say two names, and Ranniello, you're gonna like this, but one is Tom Brady for football. The other is LeBron James for basketball. I think
I thought you were going to say Brian Scalabrine.
No, those two guys
White
are the
mama.
example of the greatest primes we'll see in their sports. We've never seen a guy, especially like LeBron, who comes in at 18 and now he's past 35 and he's still dominating the league as he is. And it just shows how much they care about their body, because LeBron spends a bunch of money on his body. Tom Brady spends a bunch of money on his body because they care, because they want to continue in this league. They want to continue their greatness for as long as possible. And it shows, if you look at them, both of their mentalities, is that they want to be known as the greatest in both their sports, right? But especially if you look at Tom Brady, just his career path is insane. His story is insane. Everyone's doubted him. And now he's going to, when he finally hangs up, he could be 55 at this rate, the way he's playing. He could be 55 and to hang it up. And no one's going to touch any of his records or anything at all, because that's how great he is. It's just insane what he's doing. I don't think, especially in football, I don't think we're going to see this again. I think we're all been blessed to see the greatness. I don't think we're going to see another quarterback go for 600 plus passing touchdowns and be 44, 45 plus and be as dominant or still be as good as he is right now. And he's showing that he's not slowing down, which is scary. Like you said, he could be playing for another 10 years the way he's playing right now. It's insane. It really is.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm out of words to describe him. I mean, he's just unbelievable. He's the true, teamsman quarterback. That's the thing with the NFL that's so interesting and unique across all team sports, is that not only is it a complete meritocracy to the utmost, but it really requires a lot of leadership and sacrifice, even more than any other sports. NBA, it's about the stars, and there's a lot of isolation circumstance within games. Baseball, it's a lot about pitching. And then, you got hockey, you get the idea. The point being is that it's really based on how you work with others, how you get guys to be inspired to play with you and for you. And then just having the foresight and the self-awareness and the nutrition. It's the likes, I think the likes of Brady between the ears is probably something we're never going to see again, because everybody remembers that horrible 40-yard dash. That's going to be ingrained in my mind forever. But the fact that he was able to overcome that. And of course, I mean, for being with a defensive-minded head coach for 20 years and not having skill position guys, it's just incredible, And I understand, like, he's been very fortunate to have evaded injury for most of his career, besides the 1 year when he got hurt against Kansas City first week of the season. But, the game has changed. He's been very fortunate timing situation with how they protect the quarterback as such. And he's just taking full opportunity for that moment, because a lot of guys could hang it up when they choose to, but he's saying, look, I've never been more protected in my life.
That's a big factor.
I have the opportunity to really, squeeze this fruit juice dry. So, it just, kudos to him for that, for having the self-awareness. And I just don't think we're going to see a leader like this in our lifetime again.
Toss and turn, lesson learned. Tom Brady shows what you do if you truly focus, put everything in your craft. So take it from him. And I guess the last team to discuss before we just think at big picture things as we wrap up. Cardinals are 7-0. Is this a legit 7-0 or is it a fake one? What do you guys think? We'll start with Alex Young on this one.
I think it's a real 7-0. I think the Rams win to me was proof to me that this team is legit.
Yeah. Very
A
important.
lot of people doubted them in that game, and they ended up pretty, like I said, pretty handily beating them. So, it's tough because there's some games that they probably should have lost, I know, early on. But they found ways to win, and that's what good or great teams do. They find ways to win. And like I said, that Rams win was big for me to show that this team could be legit against a top offense and a really good defense as well. So we'll see going forward. I know it's the Cardinals. Sometimes they stall out. We saw, after early success last year, they struggled down the stretch and it ended up costing their season. But I think Kyler Murray is playing on another level. I've always liked Kyler Murray. And now with the additions of Zach Ertz, only making their offense even more threatening and potent. That literally, that offense to me is like a Madden offense as well. As you have Ertz, Hopkins, Kirk, Rondell Moore, who was a stud in college.
A revised AJ Green.
A revised AJ Green, who came out of nowhere. Chase, that is all across the board. They have talent on that offensive side, and like I said, Kyler Murray is a special quarterback. So I think this team is definitely a team to look out for. And I think right now, to me, is a legitimate 7-0 because even though it looked dicey at times, they always found a way to win, and that's what great teams end up doing, is finding ways to win. If you're looking across the board, if you look at the Giants, we're not a great team. We find ways to lose. Cardinals find ways to win. So that's why they're 7-0 right now.
Jeez, people were like JJ Watt when he decided the Cardinals. Well, this shows exactly why some people know what they're doing, and we just got to stop judging. Ranniello, what do you real 7-0 or fake one?
Oh, real 7-0. I mean, you don't win 7 games in a row by accident. Even with Pittsburgh,
except the last year's Steelers.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, that one was just developmental cracks in their armor. I think that was a real 11-0, despite the fall off that they had. They were just getting exposed down the stretch of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my point with this. I think this is still a season of two halves, and Kingsbury had a real drop off last year, so it's yet to be seen. But the 7-0 is legit. They look legit. I just have to see it for the course of 17 games, and I think it's still going to come down to the Rams and them in the division because we'll see how it shakes out with the Rams schedule and how they play down the stretch. I am encouraged about the growth because, like I said, it seems like Kingsbury's learned from his mistakes in the past season. So is Kyler. They're not so Kyler dependent. It seems like a really balanced offensive attack. He's not really throwing for more than 25, 30 times a game, and they're playing complementary football. So that's a huge plus. And we'll just have to see as the season goes on.
Couldn't say it any better. Yeah, and pretty much we hit the big headlines. But besides, the Lions 0-7, though I think this is going to sound real weird. They're one of the best winless teams at this point in the sense that they are all in most of these games. Jared Goff hasn't looked awful, but literally, whether it's the doink against the Ravens or, the tears that Dan Campbell led on to hopefully inspire, they play close games. People like to make fun of the Jets, but the Lions are, they've only made one conference championship in their 60 years. And yeah, and pretty much hit there. The Chiefs are hilarious. The situation, we pretty much hit them on, and then, looks like, as you mentioned, pretty much hit everywhere on the 32 teams. Is there anything else that we missed before I ask my last question?
No. I think we hit
Mitzi, I think we talked about the November 12th deadline. Who are the other teams you guys feel can really make a push for the playoffs with an acquisition?
That's a good question.
Yep.
I don't know, because it's tough. Like, looking at these teams, they're all so good already. It's like I don't think the Packers or the Bucks are really going to add. I can see the Packers maybe adding another offensive threat, but all these teams across the board, I don't know if the Cowboys are really going to add. Buffalo, I could see maybe doing something, maybe grabbing some more defensive players, get more depth there, get depth across the board. I could see that. but they pretty much look like they're going to take. I know the Patriots are right behind them, but I think they're pretty much sealed that they're going to win the East. Maybe your Raiders. Maybe your Raiders do something, make a move. I could see that happening because they have to try to make some push against the Chargers. So it's gonna be interesting.
What they need a corner and they need a second guy on the other side of that front four because I love Crosby. I think he's the real deal, but not having Cleveland Farrell play at the standards has been really abysmal for us. And then, like I said, that secondary is still very vulnerable. I just want to shift real quick because I think that originally in my preseason predictions, I still had the Seahawks in the playoffs as the third wildcard team. And I think that they could still possibly save their season depending on Russell Wilson's schedule. Yeah, so I feel like they could still salvage their season, but they're going to need to pick up someone like Nick Foles in the on the market, and I think they could still do it.
Yeah, and I think for another team worth investing, and especially if the Seahawks lose these next two games, they do have some valuable weapons. I mean, they won't go with TK Metcalf, but maybe like Tyler Lockett, maybe Chris Carson, and then I think they can go to like the Titans. Julio Jones is iffy; it's hard to trust. AJ Brown's injury problems. I think the Titans can really add just one more big move again. If it's a Lockett, maybe if it's a Traquan Smith from New Orleans. If I really even though they're 4-3, I really wouldn't feel confident with that. And I think if they won't make a move, but I think that would be a team worth going for. I think the Titans, if they can add just another weapon on the side, that would be very beneficial.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are in the same boat too. I think they're probably looking for one more explosive guy.
Maybe Jamison Crowder from the Jets. Maybe Jamison Crowder from the Jets, possibly.
But if you're Harbaugh in that offense, you got to be looking at Cleveland and Cincinnati and just being a little concerned. That's all.
Indeed. My last question here before we wrap it up. This was a really good podcast. I just wanted to say that. I'm gonna send this to people I sent tapes to. It'd be hard to envision the playoff board. I couldn't tell you the playoff picture at the moment. I mean, we know who the best teams are, but the wild card teams, depending on how things go. But anyways, the season ended today. Who do you expect in the Super Bowl? AFC, NFC, and who do you think would win it if the season ended today? And do you also think that possibly that can last the next, we're about to hit November, so that can last the next 3 months? Who do you think what do you think the case would be? Like for me, if you asked me, I think the Packers can win the NFC at this moment. Aaron Rodgers is hungry, even if it will be his last hoorah. I mean, on a huge 6-game winning streak, everything's clicking. I don't know at the moment Devontae Adams got cleared for the game on Thursday, but assuming he does, I really think they can go in and beat a Bucs team. They could beat a Cowboys team. I think the Cowboys will collapse. And I think the Packers will win the NFC East if it ended today. And then the AFC, I really think the Bengals and Joe Burrow, who knows, one thing leads to another. Again, this would be a stretch, and this would be also if they would get, if they could get some help, especially if things go a certain way. Why not have a Joe Burrow? They make compared to like a Jared Goff Rams run. Maybe you call it fluke. I don't know. But that AFC team, things just seems to be really clicking there. And it might be a stretch, but I'll go on the record as of October 27th, 2021. You had a Packers-Bengals Super Bowl. That would be intense. And this is if things keep moving in the right direction. As we see on the faces for those listening, I have in some faces. But, hey, that's why we take those big leaps. That's what I would say.
Hey, let's do it, man. You want to go?
Yeah, I can grab. I'll grab my picks. Although Matt, as you know, my baseball picks were way off this year. Both my teams were not in by any means. I picked the White Sox and the Giants, and we all know it's Astros Braves right now. So take my picks with a grain of salt for football. But on the NFC side, I'm never going to discount Tom Brady unless he's playing the Giants in the Super Bowl. Those are the only 2 times I ever discounted Tom Brady.
Hey, we're playing them in a couple weeks.
I know. It should be fun. I am gonna say the Bucks, or my pick to make it out of the NFC. I think bringing that whole squad back on both sides is something that we haven't seen before for a Super Bowl team. Usually you lose a few guys. They brought all their key players back on defense. They're clicking, and it's obviously Tom Brady looks like he's not slowing down. So that's why I have the Bucks out of the NFC. For me, although I do love what the Bengals are doing this year, I can't pick them right now to be in the Super Bowl. I know I talked earlier, I think, with you on a way back. I think the Bills are the team to look out for out of the AFC. Although I really like what I'm seeing from the Titans right now. I know they looked a little iffy at times, and it looks like they're clicking again.
Lost
but
to the Jets.
Yeah, they lost to the Jets. Tannehill looked a little weird without his. I think his offensive coordinator moved on from last season, if I'm not mistaken. So he looks at times not great, but I think the Bills are one of the most complete teams, and going to the AFC, I think, these next few weeks really show that they're a top team in the AFC. I think going to the playoffs will have momentum. So I'm going to have Bucks Bills in my way too early Super Bowl predictions right now. But those are the two teams I really like out of both sides. And I think they're going to continue their success going forward.
Mr. Ranniello.
Yeah, before the preseason, I mean, I had a rematch on both sides of the bracket from last year. I'm definitely getting off the bandwagon with that. It's tough because it's such a week to week league. I would say today, gun to my head. Yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm making my really bold Bengals pick, just because things just keep working right. And that's why. And
that way you can be like, you heard it here first. Yeah.
Exactly. So you were saying, sorry to interrupt. I apologize.
No, you're good. So I guess gun to my head today, I would say Bills, Ravens on the AFC side, Rams, Bucks on the NFC. The only reservation I have with the Bucks is obviously health. That secondary is a little vulnerable, but that's what I got.
Look at that. Well, a tale of two Alexes was a real successful one. Thank you so much, Alex Young and Alex Ranniello, for coming on. We appreciate you both. And let's check in a couple weeks to see how close we are to our predictions or how far away we are. But either way, a lot of fun football ahead. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me again, Matt. It's always a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Happy to see you both.
Indeed, man. The best, Alex Young and Alex Ranniello. We'll see you guys really soon. Peace.
Later, guys.